Welcome, everybody, to another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is building custom reports in QuickBooks. My name is Michelle Long, and I'm joined by Hector Garcia. A little bit about QB Power Hour. Normally, we do this every other week, starting on Thursdays at noon. Thank you guys for joining us today. And as you know, we typically talk about tips and tricks and advanced insights. We're talking about QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online with special guests and third-party apps, which is what we have today. This is a special QB Power Hour featuring Spotlight reporting. So we're very glad to bring that to you today to let you learn a little bit more about Spotlight reporting. So briefly, we're going to talk a little bit about QB Power Hour and your host, the CPE process, a couple of announcements and updates, and then we're going to learn about Spotlight reporting. My name is Michelle Long, a CPA, owner of Long for Success, author of several different books, as well as the LinkedIn group, international speaker, part of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, and thrilled to have traveled all around the world teaching accountants and bookkeepers about QuickBooks Online and helping them with that. Hector, we've got you on here. I can hear you. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, how are you? So I'm Hector Garcia, CPA from Miami, Florida. I teach QuickBooks. That's just my passion. And I'm really happy and glad that we're very close to our 1-year anniversary of QB Power Hour, actually. So, I can't believe it's been a year already. Very excited about that. I'll talk about, if you want to pass the next slide, Michelle. Let me talk about the sponsors and guests. So Michelle Long and myself and in our businesses are the main sponsors of this program. We invest our time and our resources in putting this together. From time to time, we will have a third-party developer like we have today, Spotlight reporting. However, we do get hundreds of requests from different developers that want to feature their software or their app in QB Power Hour. And Michelle and I take great pride on vetting the sponsors. So we make sure that they have a great product, great customer service, and it is truly a value to our QuickBooks Power users. We're not sponsored by Intuit at all, although from time to time we do talk about Intuit and we bring Intuit guest speakers and we cover announcements. The CPE process works like this. You must attend the webinar live. All these webinars are recorded so you can watch them in YouTube afterwards. However, the CPE is only given to people that log in to go to webinar, that spend at least 50 minutes and that answer the CPE question correctly. Please do not email me with a CPE keyword requesting a CPE certificate. The process is semi-automated. You must attend live and you must answer the CPE question correctly. Now, give the CPE certificates about three weeks to get emailed. However, up to this morning, we are 100% up to date. So every single CPE certificate has been given. If you haven't received one in particular, then you can email me, qbpowerhour@gmail.com.
I'll go ahead and cover this part, Hector, then I'll pass it back to you. So we do have upcoming conference in San Jose, California. Hopefully you guys are planning on joining us for that. This is going to be amazing. Last year was awesome as well. We've got some awesome lineups this week. Intuit has announced several of the keynote speakers, including Bill Rancic again, Robert Herjavec of Shark Tank. If you watch Shark Tank, he's going to be there. Goo Goo Dolls are going to be the band this year. Lots of great sessions at QuickBooks Connect, so we'd love to see you there, as well as SleaterCon in Las Vegas. Hector and I will be doing the QB Power Hour live from Las Vegas that week, so we'd love to have you join us for that. And then the QuickBooks Online Cert Prep Training. This is the road show. Intuit has lots of speakers, including Hector and I, going out to various cities across the U.S. We'd love to have you join us for these QBO Cert Prep Training. It is free. Remember, you can join the Pro Advisor program for free for QuickBooks Online certification and training and attend some of these cities. If you're not at one of the cities that it's going to, there is online training available as well at intuitacademy.com. Hector and I will be presenting together in Long Island, New York, and Syracuse. Love to have you there. And then we'll also be in Florida in January. And I'm going to Charlotte, Atlanta, Nashville, as well as Honolulu. So love to have you guys register and join us for some of those upcoming events and things like that. It's a great way to keep furthering your practice. us. And also, we wanted to mention our special speaker, Nick George from New Zealand. He's going to be talking today about spotlight reporting, and it's already tomorrow down there. So it's literally the middle of the night for him. So Nick, thank you for joining us. Hector, we can't see your screen, so go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So just to frame a little bit the content that we're going to cover with Spotlight Reporting, Nick from Spotlight Reporting, it's 4 a.m. in New Zealand. So if he starts snoring in the middle of the webinar, don't give him any grief. We understand. Thank you very much for accommodating to the U.S. crowd here, Nick. Anyway, so management reports were introduced into QuickBooks Online as a way to package reports as sort of a one PDF file that we can give to our clients in a monthly basis or quarterly basis or whatever. However, although it's a great feature, and we did feature it in a QB Power Hour in the past, what is missing is graphics. A lot of times graphics, speak for themselves, and they are really allowed to give a much visual representation of the numbers, and they do complement it a lot. So one of the big deficiencies of management reporting or management reports in QBO is the lack of graphics. Of course, the lack of KPIs, key performance indicators, which are really narrowed down ratios and numbers that target a specific performance area. And there's no way to integrate budget information into management reports. So although it's a great feature, it is lacking those. Now, what about QuickBooks Desktop? QuickBooks Desktop can do budgets, and QuickBooks Online can do budgets too. However, one of the big criticisms of QuickBooks Desktop built-in budgets is that you can't really customize the reports in great length. You don't have that many extra columns you can add, like year to date versus this month versus last month, that sort of thing. So we don't have a lot of comparative budget reporting. And one of the criticisms that QuickBooks Desktop has is that it does require kind of a trick for you to be able to use past numbers to create a budget for the future. So, QuickBooks Online can take historical information to build budgets, but QuickBooks Desktop, it's just not designed to take historical information to build budgets. So one of the things that people kind of get bummed out about it is that building a budget is a long, cumbersome process in QuickBooks Desktop. Now, budgets and forecasting are also often intertwined and misinterpreted. And the way I like to explain the difference, especially to my clients, even to other fellow accountants, is budgets are the most realistic as possible, and they're mostly associated with controlling costs. I would say when you think of budget, most of the time you think about having costs formatted in a limited framework, so that way the user sort of limits the spending based on the budgets. Now, forecasting, it's more about a cash flow prediction, and forecasting uses the concept of what if. So what if next summer my sales decrease? What the percentage is and what the impact to my bottom line is. What if I'm able to duplicate my sales this holiday season because I'm introducing a new product? What impact would that have on my cash flow and all my direct and indirect expenses? So that's kind of the difference between budget and forecasting. And I think it's important to have both. Although in some instances, it's hard enough to get the business owner or the user to use one. Forecasting is not available in QuickBooks Online. It is available in QuickBooks Desktop. However, there's two important limitations. One, you can only do a single forecast per period. And that's an issue because when we talk about what if analysis, we usually do best case, worst case, and sort of the average between it. So forecasting is typically done in multiple layers, and QuickBooks Desktop really, it's limited in there. Now, I'll give you a quick, most of you knew this because Michelle talks about this all the time, but one of the really great things to do when building a budget or forecast, or at least to start having the conversation about it, is to do benchmarking. It's to go back to the statistics, go to bizstats.com, pick an industry, pick the company size, and then these are basically the averages that are reported to the IRS. So you can actually really see as a percentage of income where these expense categories are often used. And this is a great, again, your company should always be better than the average, but the averages are a good baseline to use. So if you're going to make a forecast or make a budget of a startup, I think this is a great starting point. So don't forget, bizstats.com is free. Pick an industry, check it out. You'll thank me later. Before I send it over to our guest speaker, and Nick, are you ready for me to send you presentation status, the presenter status?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Hector.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick George, and I'm the product manager here at Spotlight Reporting. As Hector said, it's 4 a.m. on a Friday morning for me. I am in the future. It's a bit crazy, I know. But hopefully, yeah, as I said, I'm not going to fall asleep on you, and hopefully I'll be able to give you a really good demonstration of our product, Spotlight Reporting, and a couple of our other products. Spotlight Reporting is an online business intelligence tool. It's designed to help accountants provide clear and meaningful information for your clients about their business as such. We know businesses without good data will basically be flying blind. If they don't know what's actually happening in their business, they can be working away really hard and not actually making a profit, making losses, and actually really hurting themselves. And quite often, businesses don't actually have the expertise in-house to actually analyze the financials and actually know what it tells them about their business. And that's where you, as a qualified expert, comes in to basically provide that analysis. But then, as we know, accounting systems don't necessarily have the best of reporting tools within them. So you can't necessarily rely on them to basically provide you with really in-depth reporting. The other option is to take a lot of data, put it into Excel, spend hours manipulating it, errors crop up, and it's not a great use of your time. And by spending hours doing it, you basically make the whole solution unaffordable to your clients. So it basically is reserved for a handful of clients who can actually afford to pay that service. So that's the problem. Clients need really good financial information, but it's really hard and expensive and time-consuming for the accountant to provide it. And Spotlight Reporting is basically there to solve those two problems.
And Nick, just so
Spotlight
you know,
Reporting grew
you got the screen now, right? So now you can do demonstration if you need to, and I won't say anything else.
Perfect. Thanks, Hector. Yeah, so Spotlight Reporting basically grew out of an accounting firm. The accounting firm had a real focus on providing advisory and consultancy services, but we were spending a lot of time basically manipulating reports out of Excel. So we basically built Spotlight Reporting to help us within our own accounting firm so that we can actually provide the majority of our clients really good management reports on a monthly basis and spend 30 minutes doing so rather than 5 hours or 6 hours doing so. Basically opening up our client base to this kind of advisory service. And then as the years went on, we started to build additional products. So then we can start to tailor the reports depending on the client's size and depending on their requirements and being able to build forecasts and budgets for them. So that's basically a bit of an overview of Spotlight Reporting. And you'll see during this demo here how quick and easy it is to use Spotlight Reporting and our other products with QuickBooks Online to create beautiful reports that makes it so easy for you, but also makes it understandable for your client. Now, I've logged into Spotlight, and at the top over here, you can see a number of tabs. These are the different products that we have within Spotlight. We've got reporting, forecasting, dashboards, and multi. Reporting is a tool that we built for small and medium-sized businesses. It's great for giving them a nice management pack, whether it's a 2-page or 10-page report, it's up to you, and we'll do a demo of that very soon. We've also got forecasting, which allows you to create a full 3-way forecast. So that's your profit and loss budget, your cash flow forecast, and your balance sheet forecast as well. And we've got a tool called Dashboard, which is great for small businesses, your mom and dad type of companies. They don't need a full management report pack. They're just too small for that, and it'd probably be too overwhelming. So let's actually give them a little dashboard. It's a 1-pager that shows them the key information about their business. And then we've got Multi, which is designed for franchises. So in any case where you need to consolidate 200, 300, 500 entities and start to show, which franchisee is doing the best, which is doing the worst, all of that kind of thing, Spotlight Multi will do that. But let's get into it. I'm going to show you Spotlight Reporting right now. And if you want timey, but you basically be able to say just how quick and easy it is to use this product. I'm going to add an organization. Adding an organization is basically adding my client to Spotlight. So Let's call it Next IT Corp. And I'm going to click on Save. Okay, next I'm going to select the data source. I'm going to connect to QuickBooks Online, and then I'm going to click Login or Connect. And it's going to ask me to log in. And I've already done that. And as soon as I've logged in, it's going to show me all my QuickBooks organizations. And I'm going to click on Authorize to get this started. This is a one-time step, basically letting QuickBooks know that you're happy for us to connect to this particular client and start importing the data. Okay, so we've got that connection in place. Let's click on this magical import button. And that's going to get things started. So you'll see that it's connecting away. And within a minute or so, we'll have all this data. We're actually going to pull in this year's, last year's accrual data and cash data. We're also going to pull in a budget from QuickBooks Online if that exists. Okay, you can see that our import was successful. Now bear in mind, we've spent, what, 30 seconds, if that? I'm going to click on this preview button. And this is the magic of Spotlight reporting. So far, we've only imported our data, but as soon as it comes in, it fills out our template. So here we've got a profit and loss analysis or an income statement. We've got our revenue, costs, overheads. We've got this year's information. We're comparing it to last year. We've got percentages coming through, monthly information, year to date. We've got a budget coming through as well, if there is a budget, and our total column. And then down below, we've got some charts illustrating all of this information. Let's click on my balance sheet analysis. So here, my balance sheet, we can see all my assets, my liabilities. We're comparing this year versus last year at the same time, variances, monthly information, and the like. That looks really cool. And likewise, I can go through all the pages. Now, all of this information has come through just by myself importing the data. And the beauty of this is, let's say I'm working on my report, and then the client goes into QuickBooks Online, and they record some invoices a little bit late, because they tend to do that. They make some journals late. They do their bank reconciliations a little bit late. And previously, if they did anything late, it basically meant you had to go through all your Excel files, find particular numbers that were out, update it, and just waste time updating information. That's no longer an issue now, because you just come into the import screen and you say, look, my client has updated the data. I'm going to click on import and bring in the latest information from QuickBooks Online. It's as simple as that. It's pretty cool. You can actually see the data that's imported by going into the customized data screen. This is actually this is the boring part of Spotlight. If you want, I don't tend to normally show this, but I will give you a quick overview of this. The customized data screen shows all your revenue, cost of sales, overhead accounts. This is the chart of accounts that's come through, as well as the figures that have been imported for these accounts. So you can actually see what makes up your data. You can also remap accounts. So if a particular account is set up as an overhead in QuickBooks Online, but it really should be a cost of sale, you can change things around and get your mappings correct for management reporting purposes. Very good, but we don't tend to spend a lot of time there because we don't need to. The data is coming through from QuickBooks, it's imported automatically. So really what we're going to do is spend our time on the customized layout tab, which is where we get our report layout correct. And actually what you'll find with Spotlight, once you get your layout correct the first time, you then actually don't need to play around with it going forward. So here I am in customized layout. I can select the date of my report. So I've got a 31 August report. And then I choose my template. So I can choose from a number of templates, a basic, advanced, standard type of template. Let me click on this. And we're just going to run with the example that we've got a client that we want to quickly do a report for them, and we're using Spotlight form. So a standard template has a cover page, which is going to show your logo or your company's logo on it and their name. There's an executive summary page. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Then we've got our profit and loss. So let me jump into my profit and loss. And we can change the format of it. So at the moment, I've got this format looking at my net operating profit. So I've got my revenue, less my cost of sales, less my overheads, giving me my net profit. But if I want, I can select the EBITDA format. And when I do that, It's basically going to show my depreciation, interest, tax, amortization, all below my operating profit line. I can choose how detailed I want my profit and loss. So at the moment, we're running this summarized profit and loss, which means my cost of sales and overheads, they're grouped together as one little line. It makes it nice and simple for my client. They're just focusing on the headline numbers. But some clients want all the detail. So we can click on detailed. And as soon as we do that, we're going to get a fully detailed profit and loss. So showing me all my cost of sales and all my overhead accounts as well. That's pretty cool. Or maybe we want something in between. Let me go back with summary with charts. And it could be that when we look at our revenue accounts, for example, there are a couple of accounts here that, they're not actually big revenue generators. So I'm happy for them to kind of be grouped together as one account, maybe call it other revenue. But then there is a particular wages account separately from this group. So what I can do is go into customize data, and I can scroll down and I can see all my accounts here. And there's a column down the middle called the Spotlight Display Name. This is how the QuickBooks account will be displayed in Spotlight, thus Spotlight Display Name. Now what I can do is I can change that name. I can say rather than calling this account Product Revenue, let's call it Other Revenue. And likewise with this one, let's call it Other Revenue. Or if I go into my expenses, I might go and find a particular expense account that I want to change the name for. Wages is a good example. Let's call it Wages. There we are. And now I want to go to my profit and loss and jump in there. What you'll basically see is those two revenue accounts have been grouped together. Our wages account has been split out. So there's a myriad of customization options available to you when it comes to the profit and loss. So you can tailor it depending on whether your client wants the detail, they want the summary, they want something in between. It's all there for you. And then you have the ability to further customize these rows and do a number of things there. You can also customize these columns. At the moment, we're looking at our year-to-date information. We're comparing it to last year and showing a variance. We've got comparisons. So we look at the current month and the last 3 months. Maybe I want to compare this month versus this month last year. So August 15 versus August 14. That's a really interesting metric. I'll select that. Maybe I don't have projections, but I also want percentage of revenue. That's actually a really cool one. Let me click on Update. And when I look at this now, we've got this column here that's showing me what percentage of revenue my wages is, my cost of sales is. And to the right there, we've got our August 15 versus August 14 and some variances. So we can quickly see whether we're doing better than last year or not. Let's scroll down. We've got some beautiful charts. As an accountant, you probably love this section up here. It's all the numbers, and that's brilliant. But as a client, you'll find they'll love the charts in Spotlight reporting. And that's because it tells them all this information about their business in a way that they can actually understand. So here we've got things like our revenue this year, last year. We can easily see the fluctuations, the trends, the seasonality within the business. We can easily see how the business has done this year compared to last year, whether it's done worse or better. And we can customize these charts. By clicking on Customize, we go in. We can do anything from changing the color of charts. So let's say we want a pink chart. Why not? Let's select that. We can select the type. We want a pink bar chart. Click on Update. And there's my pink bar chart. That looks great. Go into last year. If I want an orange area chart, I can by all means do that. There we go. So you can customize the charts that are already in Spotlight. It's really simple to do. You just click these options. You can put in narrations, change date ranges, change axis, do all the kind of customization things that you're used to. But for the most part, you'll actually find the charts will just work out of the box. You don't even need to customize them. It's only if you want to start putting your own colors and branding and things like that that you might get into changing colors and the like. Now, in addition to changing the existing charts, the out-of-the-box ones, you can also, instead of customizing, you can also change them. So if we don't want to report on our on our operating expenses, but we want to focus on gross profit, we can click Change Chart, and then you'll get access to our chart gallery. This is made up of some 70 or 80 charts, everything to do with our balance sheet, cash, cost of sales, debt and finance, EBIT and EBITDA, and the list just goes on. So I might want to focus on the gross profit. Well, I'm going to select that gross profit percentage chart, click Save. There's my gross profit, generated just like that. And I can go and customize it and carry on. But I'm going to keep going because that page is it's looking pretty good. I've got another page looking at my balance sheet analysis. Again, I have the ability to select how detailed a balance sheet I want or how summarized. Do I just want to keep it at headline information or show the full detail? I can look at things such as the amount of money we've spent on our assets, what makes up our debts, and we've got beautiful charts. I always have to point out this chart when I'm doing a demo. This is the balance sheet components. In green, it shows me all the assets in the company, and in orange, it shows me the liabilities. Now, no one cannot understand a balance sheet. This is really obvious. More green means you're in a better position. More orange means that's bad. And then you can also get into the more detail of it and say, well, depending on what green you have, if it's a darker green, it's more liquid, it's a current asset. If it's a lighter green, it means it's a term asset, it's fixed asset, and the like. So you can discuss those things with the client. And we got things like equity trends, liquidity monitor, current ratios, a whole lot of things. Okay, so that was the balance sheet. We've also got a page there looking at our charts. So let me quick look through here. We've got a chart looking at our revenue and operating profit trends for the last 18 months. That's really interesting to see that our revenue is growing, but it looks like our profit's not growing as quickly. So we might need to put a bit of a control on our overheads and spending. We can see where our revenue is coming from. That's good. Gross profit, cash on hand. This is really interesting, seeing my monthly cash movements up and down and my month-end balance. Look at my revenue compared to last year. Oh, this is a fascinating chart. This one is called the liquidity, cash, and debtors. The orange line shows my bank balance at the end of every month, and the yellow line on top of that is my debtors added on top of that. So what it's basically showing me here is my potential bank balance. So you know when your client comes to you and says, you know, why are we struggling to actually pay our suppliers? We've done really well. We've got a good profit this year. It doesn't make any sense. Why is cash so low in the bank account? Well, it's most likely because a lot of the money is still tied up in debtors. They've sold on really long credit terms, they haven't chased up their debtors, and the cash flow hasn't come in. Now, when you show them a chart like this, which makes it as plain as day that they've got this huge accounts receivable balance, that's when they'll do something about it. And there's nothing new about this information. It's lived in the balance sheet this whole time. It's just accounts receivable or debtors and bank. But there's nothing like putting in a visual format like this to really get people moving. So that's basically our standard report. Now, we haven't actually spent much time actually working on a report, but we don't need to. It's just going to work out of the box. But if we want to do further customization, as I've shown, you can customize the profit and loss, you can change the charts, customize it, do whatever you want. You can add additional pages and everything else. And then the beauty of this is, let's say we have customized this, and we've got this format that works great for a professional services firm. What I'm going to do is click Save as Template, and I'm going to call this the Professional Firm Template.
Hey, Nick, while you do that,
And click Save.
I was thinking it's a natural point to ask some questions. One of the questions was, you're making multiple templates. So essentially, could you have different mapping criteria on each template?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so follow-up question to that. Follow-up question to that. There were one of the questions that we're asking is, whenever you put together a grouping or mapping criteria that essentially changes the chart of accounts organization for the purposes of reports, you're not affecting the QBO chart of accounts in any way. These are just layers on top of what's already in QuickBooks Online, correct?
That's exactly it. So when we kind of changes to the account mappings and Spotlight, it won't go and affect QuickBooks. Rather, it's just within your management report and Spotlight.
Okay, I have like 6 more questions. One of it was, there was a lot of people asking, does it work with QuickBooks Desktop?
Not at this stage, but we're actually working on a desktop connector tool which will allow you to then connect to your QuickBooks desktop data and bring it in.
Is
At the
there time
moment,
frame?
you can bring in your
Any time
QuickBooks
frame?
data using Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. So you could export the data into Excel, and I'm sure you're going to cover that real quick. Another big question has been asked about 10 times. Classes. Does it work with classes? Does it support class reporting? Are you working on that?
Not at this stage, but it's definitely something we want to build out. Our main focus was to get our connection with QuickBooks Online working and seeing how people enjoyed using it. And yeah, the next step is basically to start to support all the different classes and being able to, filter these reports and say, show me my department classes or location classes. We think that's really powerful, and it's definitely on our roadmap.
Okay. Given by the feedback, Nick, and the amount of people asking for classes, it's got to be something for top priority. Just a saying. Another question was, whenever you do customization and you select multiple columns, you had like an option of doing like 10 or 11, 12 columns, budget, variance. Does it ever get to a point where there's so many columns that it crosses more than one page? Or if you had every single column set up, will it still fit all on one page?
Yeah, great question. No, it wouldn't fit on one page if you selected all those options
Okay.
on my profit and loss, but you'd probably find that you wouldn't ever select all those columns. There are some that are quarterly formatting or things like that which wouldn't necessarily apply to the client.
Okay, perfect.
And if it does start to flow on multiple pages, you can always add an additional page for the
Sure.
remaining columns.
Sure. Another question here is, can you double click on any of the dollar amounts to get a drill down? I think the answer is no, but I'll ask anyway.
No, 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 you can't. We're basically just importing the month-end balance for these accounts. If we try to import the actual transactional level data, that import we saw at the beginning would probably take 36 hours rather than 1 minute.
Of course, and that makes total sense. Can you do weekly reporting like for restaurants and retail stores?
Great question. Not at this stage. It's something that we're looking to do in the future, though.
Yeah, I have to ask the questions. They're being asked. So, what about cash or accrual? Is this only accrual basis, or can you switch from cash to accrual? Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, so if the actual account, QuickBooks Online account, is reported purely on a cash basis and no invoices are being raised and the like, then the data that's coming through into Spotlight is already on a cash basis. But if there are invoices being recorded and the like, and you're kind of working on multiple bases there within the QuickBooks system, then in Spotlight we tend to default to an accrual basis. However, we are looking at ways of opening up the kind of cash basis reporting because we appreciate that's quite a popular format in the US.
Got it. I'm done with questions. Go ahead.
Brilliant. Feel free to ask questions, guys. It's completely fine. Now, what I was doing just before we got into the questions was I created and saved a template called the Professional Firm template. So what this template basically means is now when I add my next client into Spotlight and import the data, I can select this template from this drop-down menu, and they will get all the same charts and everything else, which is pretty cool. Basically meaning I don't have to re-customize myself. What I'm going to quickly do now is jump into my executive summary. The executive summary is a page where I'm going to actually talk about what the report shows to my client, what it's actually telling them about their business. I can customize the executive summary, talk about highlights, recommendations, observations, everything else happening in the business. Could be that I want to talk about general overview, how did they go for the month, what's a particular highlight. I might want to actually talk about their revenue. So traditionally, I would have to go in, revenue for the month of August was 50,000 compared to so-and-so, and spend hours keying things in. With Spotlight, we've got some brilliant technology here, such as auto text. Click on that. I get a number of options here, looking at maybe year-to-date versus budget. I'm going to click this option, which then populates the text box with some text there, saying revenue for the year-to-date is so-and-so. It's got blue blocks, which when I click outside of it, it turns those blocks into values. So immediately it's picking up the data that has been imported. It's telling me there what my revenue compared to my budget is, the variance and everything. So I don't have to type this in. So I'm going to save so much time. And I can do that with my revenue, my gross profit, my bank, my assets, my liabilities, all this kind of accounts you typically would write in your executive summary, which is pretty cool. Now, we are running out of time, so let me quickly go through some of the other key features within Spotlight reporting. Firstly, we've been focusing so far in our webinar about just reporting on this year versus last year information. And that's really some out-of-the-box reporting. We can think of the majority of our clients don't actually have budgets loaded into QuickBooks, therefore we can't really report on that. But if they do have a budget, then by all means, when you come into the profit and loss, select the actual versus budget options and start to look at their actuals versus their budget. Look at their current month versus the budget and variances. Let me just untick some of these options, go update. And now when I look at my profit and loss, we can basically see there, this is my budget that we've imported, this is the variance, and we've got this real-time information as to whether the business is going to meet its targets for the year. If they're struggling with their budgets, we need to do something right now to make sure that they get back on track. And we've got this year-to-date view as well as a monthly view. So if the client has budgets in, bring it into Spotlight and then report on it. The budget information flows down into the charts. That's what those dotted lines represent as well. So it all just comes through, and it just allows for really good reporting. Something else I really want to show you before we look at our other products is the ability to import from multiple data sources. So yes, we've connected to QuickBooks Online and brought in that data. We're reporting on financials, but we can still go ahead and connect to Excel, Google Analytics, and bring in additional information. I'm going to click on Google Analytics and get this started. If you don't know what Google Analytics is a tool that Google provides to basically monitor and track website usage and statistics. It's a free tool, so everyone can sign up for it. And you just basically get the account, you put in some code onto your website, and then Google starts tracking this information for you. And then you can just monitor the usage. So that's what I've done here. I've connected to a website of mine, and I've gone ahead and imported my Google Analytics data. But when we think of just the 21st century here, everyone's got a website. We've spent thousands of dollars trying to build a website, which is great, but how effective is our website? Well, the Google Analytics information will help you basically report on that. So I'm just going into one of my templates.
Let me add some context to that, because I just finished a Spotlight reporting project with a client, and we were trying to compare if the increase in traffic of a particular Google Analytics campaign had a direct correlation on the increase in sales. So before we had Spotlight reporting, we had to pull our QuickBooks Online financial statements and their analytics reports separate. And what I found great about this is now we get both pieces of information in the same spot. And it seems unlikely that an accountant would focus on that piece, right? On on the marketing piece. But as accountants or accounting professionals, we're supposed to count everything, right? Not just money. And I find that very contextual to think about using one of the most important assets to a lot of small businesses, which is their website, and compare that with the performance of the financials. Because if you're going to be investing money on the website, you want to see the results, not just in hits and visitors. You want to see that in sales. Would you say that's accurate, the reason why you guys did this?
That's exactly it. The reality is a lot of the other systems that a business will use paints a full picture around the business and the financials. So Google Analytics is a great one, the website traffic and awareness. Also other systems like point of sale systems or customer relationship systems and things like that, they all have so much data in them. And typically people just segment it and just focus on financials. But with Spotlight, it's all about integrating with these other solutions, bring in that data so that you can have this mashup of all your information there so you can get that full understanding about the business. So at the moment, we've got Google Analytics integration there. With Excel, you can bring in a whole bunch of other KPI and non-financial data. And down the track, we're looking to integrate with Salesforce as well. And as you can see here from this particular Google Analytics page, we've got everything from monthly visitors, new visitors, returning visits, time on site, popular pages, where in the world people came onto our site from, things like that. It's really interesting stuff. And there's a range of other Google Analytics charts that you can use. And that's just one of the integrations we have there. So yeah, basically bring in all of that information and get that full view of your business. And that's basically Spotlight reporting. Hector, were there any other questions, or should we move on to Spotlight forecasting?
Go ahead and move on. And I have some questions, but do forecasting, because that's such a great product, and I really don't want to take any time away from that. So do forecasting, please.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and add an organization. Let's call it Next Accounting Firm. Basically adding my client again. And in Spotlight forecasting, what I'm going to do is basically determine what am I trying to do for this particular client. Do they have a budget at all? If they don't have a budget, that's my first step. I need to create a budget for them for this year. So I can select this task there about creating a forecast. Let's call it forecast. Select my forecast period. Am I wanting a 12-month, 36-month, 24-month type of forecast? It's up to me. So I'm going to select that, and then select some text things, and then import my data. I'm going to select my QuickBooks account again, and go ahead and connect. And once we've connected through, we'll start the import. Hector previously showed how budgeting within QuickBooks can be a little bit cumbersome and tiring to do. It's not necessarily intuitive, and Spotlight forecasting has been built to basically address that issue. So let's go ahead and import our data. The biggest thing about creating a budget is, well, where do I start? What do I use for this year's budget numbers? That can be the hardest thing. And you're going to see once we import the data, we've made this really easy for you. Okay, so it's going to import away. Brilliant. We go cancel. And now that we've imported our data, we can say, how do I want to create my budget? If I've already got a budget in QuickBooks, how about I just go and import that into Spotlight forecasting and then tweak it a little bit? But maybe I don't have a budget for this year, but I did have a budget last year. So let's bring in last year's budget and use that as the basis for this year. That's another option. Or I've never done a budget. Well, then where do I start? Well, last year's actuals are a perfect starting point. So I'm going to select that and click Save and Continue. And once my forecast is updated, what you'll see is all of my last year's actual data. So my April 14 right through to March 15 data. So you can see there all my historical data that's shown in white. All of this information has basically copied across into here. And basically what that allows you to do is then use last year's actuals as a starting point for adjusting this year. Then what you can do is you can adjust your accounts. You can quickly go in and say, look, this particular account has $2,000 per month being received or spent. And you can quickly flex and apply things to your accounts. Once you've actually created your profit and loss budget, you can then go ahead and figure out the timing rules. So we've got our revenue accounts over here. We want to basically say when those accounts will be received. So we select these default rules and we say, look, whatever we budgeted for the current month, we're actually going to receive 60% in 30 days, 30% in 60 days, 10% in 90 days. Or we can change this weighting around. So if we're expecting our customers to pay us quicker, we can select a different timing option. Click Next, Save Rule, and now it's going to apply that new timing rule to my budget. I can also go ahead and add particular rules for accounts. So maybe there are a number of accounts that have a very different timing. Everything is paid in the current month. So I can go in and say, look, these accounts are all received within the same month. Go Next, Save Rule. It applies that rule to those accounts if they have values in it. And now whatever I budgeted for in that month will be received in that month. I can go to my cost of sales. I've got all my cost of sales accounts there. Same thing. select my timing rules as to when these costs will be paid, and my expenses. So that all kind of comes through, and we can set up timings for that. Now, because we're thinking about forecasting, cash flow forecasts, three-way forecasting, we've even got our balance sheet. So we can start to see what a balance sheet looks like forecasted out for the rest of the period. We can then go ahead and do things such as record the purchase of new assets. So I can click on computer equipment here, for example, and I can go next. I can say, look, we're planning on buying some new Apple computers in December. So I put in some values there. Go next, save. And what we'll start to see there is we've got our new Apple computers coming through in December and March. That's affecting our balance sheet. We can go and start to record loan repayments. So if we've got a loan there, we can go and say that, look, we're paying $1,000 off that loan every single month. If the shareholders are wanting to take some drawings or dividends, by all means, we can start to record that. And this is impacting everything from our profit and loss to our balance sheet to our cash forecast. And that's why when I go to my cash forecast tab over here, I can see my monthly inflows, my outflows, my non-operating flows, so my asset purchases and my liabilities, everything else, and I can see my closing bank balance at the end of each of these months. And the other really cool thing about Spotlight forecasting, once you've created your forecast, that's really good. You then might want to see, well, what happens if our customers didn't actually pay us? So what if revenue was actually 5% down and our costs actually increased by 3%? Well, you can use a scenario feature within Spotlight to quickly copy across your original forecast and then tweak the numbers a little bit. And then you can run two different forecasts side by side. You've got the expected forecast and then your what if, your scenario, which is kind of your worst case, your best case scenario. It could be that in your scenario, you're going to say, well, what happens if we try to purchase an asset earlier in the year or try to hire a staff member early in the year? What impact would that have on all my figures from my bank account right through to my revenue and my profit? And that's Spotlight forecasting in a bit of a nutshell. Time's running away for me, so I haven't gone into all the features there. But it's a very strong and powerful product there. It basically solves the gap, the problems that you have an accounting system trying to create a budget. Spotlight forecasting will make it really easy for you to do so. Brilliant. And lastly, I'm going to quickly show you Spotlight Dashboard. Spotlight Dashboard is a tool we designed for small businesses. So we're talking about really small businesses. They are not going to appreciate a 6-page report or even a 3-page report from Spotlight Reporting. It's way too much information for them. They're just focused on the business and trying to survive and stay afloat. So we built Spotlight Dashboard so that you can create a beautiful report just for these type of clients and not spend hours doing so. Basically meaning that you can provide it to the majority of your clients without any issues. I'm going to go into an existing report that I've created. And what you'll see with Spotlight Dashboard is a 1-page report. It's made up of 6 different panels. Things like operating profit, gross profit, revenue, and the like. Just like the other products, it's about templates. So I can choose a revenue or a cash-focused template, and then everything in my report will then be tweaked based on that template. So now I've got revenue this year, last year, revenue contributors, and the like. That's a starting point. Then I can go into my gallery and say, look, I actually want to bring in some cash information, some balance sheet information, and the like. So if I want to focus on my balance sheet, I'll select that. And I've got a number of balance sheet options. There's one here called the balance sheet components. I actually like this one. So I'm going to click this little icon, drag and drop that. And there's my balance sheet. Beautiful. Let's look at my receivables. Click, drag, drop. We want to focus on cash. We can do so. Let's grab this particular one, year-to-date cash, and drop that there. Okay, easy. We can reorder things, do what we need to do, and there's my dashboard complete, literally in 5 minutes' time. We're going to go and print that out or email that directly out to the client. Now they've got this quick summary as to how they're doing for the month. It's not a lot of work at all, but it's really valuable information for them. And if you find that even 6 things like this is a bit too much, well, change the layout. We've got 2 additional layouts. We've got our resilient and our performance reports. So when we go into our resilience report, it's all about basically showing 3 metrics that are essential to every business: revenue, profit, cash. So now what this little report is showing me is when it comes to my revenue, profit, and cash, are we doing better than the prior year or my budget, or are we doing worse? And it's basically showing it as a favorable or unfavorable outcome. And we can see here that revenue this year compared to last year has decreased by 20,000. That's a worrying thing. My profit, that's decreased by 40,000. That's not very good at all. And my cash, oh, that's actually increased. Maybe it's a loan coming in or something to that effect. But just like that, we can quickly show this information to a client. And then we might want to go in and just go in and say, why has the revenue increased, decreased, what things have we done? And look, we can tweak this. If we don't want to report on cash, we can talk about expenses or margins. When it comes to what we're comparing it to, do we want to look at the year-to-date versus the budget, this year versus last year? Monthly information, it's up to you. So let's select expenses, and this is now going to update to show me my expenses for the year. We see there our expenses have increased by $6,000 compared to last year. That's not a very good result. Or change my layout again. I've got a performance report. This is a portrait style report, which again is focused on 3 metrics: our revenue, profit, and cash. And this time what it does is it brings it up in these crawler bars. So you can quickly see this is where we were last year, and this is how we're doing now. So we're 4% under where we were in terms of revenue, profit's 82% worse, and our cash has increased by 66%. And again, you can edit it, focus on different metrics, and tweak it. You can go and put in your analysis, commentary, and everything else. And when we click on PDF, we'll just see what it looks like. Here's my Spotlight dashboard.
I'm going to go through another whole slew of questions that I have. Some of them are questions and assertions, and you just interrupt me if I'm wrong. It does work with Canadian QBO, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, somebody asked, is this US GAAP compliant? And I'll give you that answer because I'm a CPA in the United States. This is a management reporting tool. Therefore, this cannot be US GAAP by definition because of the ability to manipulate the reports in certain ways. So this is not an auditing or public financial reporting tool. This is still considered an internal reporting tool. Now, whatever method you used in your QuickBooks Online file to organize your expenses, and if your QuickBooks Online follows GAAP, therefore the net income from this report will also follow GAAP. So that's just an assertion I want to make about to my fellow CPAs asking that question. Another question was, and I don't know if you'll be able to cover it, but cash flow. So cash flow forecasting or cash burn reports. So does the forecasting tool have cash flow forecasting short-term and long-term?
Yeah, so as part of that report, you can create, as part of Spotlight forecasting rather, you can create a 12-month or 36-month forecast all around the cash flow forecast. And we've got some beautiful charts there that'll actually show your forecasted cash in, cash out, cash on hand balances, everything to that effect. Perfect. So you can actually see the movement in and out.
And can you show us pricing, please? There's a lot of questions about pricing. Can you explain to us how the pricing of the product works?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to move on to our website here, spotlightreporting.com. And you can click on pricing at the top there. And I think it's going to show me my New Zealand pricing. So let me select the US pricing. And here we are. So with our products there, they all have different plans. So with Spotlight Reporting, we've got a base plan of $99 per month for 6 organizations. And you can add additional organizations on top of that. And please, when it comes to pricing and the like, and charging your clients, do not charge your clients a subscription cost. Remember, you're selling a service for providing all this mentoring and consultancy work. So don't think about, charging them $15 for the use of the software in the month. Think about the $300 you're charging them for the service as such. So that's just something to be aware of. And yeah, we've got multiple pricing tiers. So as you add more organization, the pricing becomes cheaper. But something that I would definitely recommend is talking to our director of sales, Leslie, who's on the line as well. She can talk to you about our Super VCFO pricing. And what that is an unlimited organization pack as such. So for a fixed monthly fee, you can use Spotlight reporting, dashboard, and forecasting for all your clients and just pay a fee. As part of that VCF4 pricing package, we also have additional masterclass training. We also do marketing with the accounting firm. We provide marketing collateral. We've actually working on a new partner center where we'll actually put a lot of information around how you can go about selling Spotlight to your clients, how you can actually talk about the reports to clients, how you can train your team, how you can build a template. So basically help you through the whole onboarding process and make you basically a success in terms of using.
Every case is different, right? Every case is different, and you may want to discuss that with the rep is specific. Leslie, I known her for a couple of years. She's gone through all the seminar. I mean, the conferences I go to. These guys are not pushing in any way. Spotlight does care about the solution. So if you are interested on opening the channels of communication, please answer the CPE. I mean the polling question I put up just now. Nick, I'll invite you to please cover the multi-company consolidation tool, and I will answer a couple more questions. The people that stay on the webinars because they're interested, so we might as well maybe take another 5 or 10 minutes if you don't mind. So show us the multi-company, the consolidation tool.
So when it comes to consolidations, we've actually got two products that does consolidations. There's Spotlight Reporting, that's the initial product I showed you, which is for company consolidations. So if you just got a standard company, or maybe you've got 3 or 4 companies and you want to consolidate them, then Spotlight Reporting will be the product for you. Spotlight Multi is actually designed for franchises and not-for-profits, where you want to grab a larger group of companies and you want to start playing around with KPIs and the like. So here I've got an example where I've got some franchises, Dunkin' Donuts, and I've got all the franchisees listed under it. Here's another one up here. So you can basically see you can add multiple organizations, and then it all gets grouped under this head office or main organization. It's going to take me a little while to actually add a whole bunch of organizations and do a full demo. So rather than doing that, I'm just going to show you a sample report from Spotlight Multi. So here's my sample report. It's got an executive summary page. When it comes to the profit and loss, we're now looking at the consolidated revenue, costs, overheads, and everything else. Likewise, the budget, that's all coming through on a consolidated basis. We've got all our charts.
So these are multiple QuickBooks Online files, right, into a single report.
That's right, up to 500.
Oh, wow.
And this page is really cool. This is the rankings page. So what it's doing here is it's taking my top 20 franchisees and it's ranking them based on revenue, percentage of revenue, gross profit percentage, net profit, and the like. So it basically tells me who's my best performer, my worst performer, where do I sit amongst everyone else. And down below, I can see what is the average revenue across the entire franchise. What's the median? What's the top 3 average and bottom 3 average? So getting these type of analytics means that you can start to really see where you fit amongst all the other franchises. You can then go and look at our exceptions page, which is, I like to call it our alerts page. It shows all my franchisees down on the left-hand side. And then rather than rank them, what it's doing here is it's looking at their actual performance and comparing it to a budget or target. And as soon as that franchisee doesn't meet their budget or target, it's going to be listed in red. So we've got an alert here saying that this franchisee is not doing so well. We need to offer them assistance. We've got a KPI target scorecard, charts, and then we've got this beautiful visual scorecard which takes all our franchisee information and plots it against a couple of our axes. So we've got revenue dollars and net profit percentage. So we're seeing here which of the franchisees are doing really well in terms of revenue and net profit, which ones aren't doing so well. Anyone on this top right section are doing exceptional, we've got a big cluster of franchisees here not doing so well, and a couple of guys here that are doing pretty bad. And that's a visual scorecard. Now, just like Spotlight Reporting, Spotlight Multi is completely customizable. You can basically select the different KPIs and rankings and things like that show up in the report. And I'll just see if I've got a consolidated report from reporting. So Spotlight Multi, as I said, was for franchises. If you're just looking to do a consolidation for a company, then Spotlight Reporting will do that for you. So I've just pulled up a sample report from Spotlight Reporting. Again, it's doing everything on a consolidated basis. But in the consolidated report, you can also then start to split out your different offices or companies, as we can see here. So these are my 6 different entities that I've consolidated. I can also go through and start to filter charts and everything else by those companies. So I can go into any of the existing charts and say, look, start to show me this information on an office by office or company by company level rather than just a consolidated level. So you have that complete flexibility around how consolidated you want it versus how company related or focused you want it. And with Spotlight Reporting and Spotlight Multi, it does handle multi-currency. So some of these companies are located overseas, maybe in the UK or Australia or even New Zealand. Well, by all means, what we can do is we can convert the currency or the values in their account into US dollars so that your consolidated report is focusing purely on US dollars.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. You have kind of the last words to say before I switch over to my screen?
Yeah, no, so thank you everyone for coming along to this session here, and I hope you can see there that Spotlight Reporting is quite a comprehensive package and solution. It's designed, as I said, for accountants, so it takes away the hassles of you preparing reports, but also means that you can engage with your clients and build trusted advisor relationships with them. So you can basically move yourself from being the bean counter to a client to being the trusted advisor, the one that they come to for advice. And Spotlight Reporting is basically a tool or a mechanism for you to make that transition and provide some great, meaningful advice to your clients. You can start a 28-day free trial from our website, and by all means, get in touch with Leslie. She'll be able to provide you with some further information around getting set up, training, and the like. But
Thank you,
thanks
Nick.
again for coming along.
And I just want to make a couple comments. One is, if you flush the toilet in New Zealand, is it clockwise or counterclockwise?
Oh, goodness. I never noticed that that closely, Hector, but I think that's the opposite from the US. So
That was an actual question in there. Real quick, can you send a report via email straight from Spotlight, or do you have to save the PDF and attach it separately?
Nope, you can send it straight through Spotlight.
Can you add the logo of your company to brand the management reports?
Absolutely.
What is the auto texting feature? I'm not sure what that was. What is the auto texting feature?
So the auto text feature was within our executive summary or our notes page, and it basically pre-fills the text box with some text and values. So it'll pick up your revenue figures, your profit figures, and calculate that and just display it on your notes page without you having to type it in.
Perfect. Nick, that's the last of my questions. By the way, I think it's fantastic that it's 5 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand. You were connected with us. 500 people attended the webinar. This thing was extremely smooth. I'm in Miami. Michelle is in St. Louis. In Missouri. This is just amazing. It doesn't cease to amaze me how small the world is and how amazing the internet is. Thank you very much, Nick. For the rest that are here, thank you for staying a little bit longer. I hope that the last 10 minutes of the last feature was useful. Mark your calendars for the upcoming QB Power Hours. Next week is going to be nonprofits for QuickBooks. So we're going to have Method Donor do a demo of their nonprofit program, which is actually really neat. 2 weeks later, we're going to be back to a 2-week schedule. 2 weeks later, on the 15th, we're going to have client onboarding, project management, and engagement letter. And Michelle and I will talk about some tips and tricks on how to bring customers in when we get the contracts and the engagement letters and the type of wording that we use. And we're going to have Practice Ignition talk about their system for onboarding clients. On 10/29, we're going to do AR management for QuickBooks. That is the topic that we have so far. On November 12th, we're about to finalize it. We're going to do report consolidation in QuickBooks Enterprise. I think we're going to focus on report consolidation and intercompany transactions. On 11/19 is going to be a different time frame because it's going to be live from Las Vegas. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of leave it for surprise because we really don't know what to expect. Maybe if I have some stories to tell from the night before in Las Vegas, I'll see which ones I'll tell and which ones I don't. On December 3rd, topic is, again, that's another QB Power Hour. Topic is to be announced. And the very last episode of the year will be December 17th, which will narrow down, Michelle and I, all the top apps for 2015 that we are going to recommend to implement for 2016. Anyway, thank you very much for joining QB Power Hour. You're going to get an email with a recording link with the handouts. Please join us in our Facebook group, join Michelle's LinkedIn group, continue the discussion, and thank you very much for being part of the QB Power Hour after 1 year. Thank you, and have a great day.